In this session we'll be tying the CDC Olive dun. With its ultra-realistic profile, it's a great pattern for tempting difficult fish that are feeding on olive duns, whether they be on lakes or rivers. So, having secured the hook in the vise, we run the tying thread on just behind the eye, securing that loose end in place and then removing it. Then we carry the thread down the shank in touching turns until we reach the bend. Once the bend's reached, we add 2 or 3 layers of thread just to form a little tag, just to support the tail. Now the tail itself comprises a few fibres of coq de lion hackle. Now this isn't always an easy material to get hold of, and at a pinch you can use finely marked grizzle hackle. Now, having selected the fibres, we offer them up to the hook and catch them in place with a couple of turns of thread. Now for the body of the fly we're going to use CDC, but we're going to actually use a whole feather twisted and wound as a rope. So the first thing we do is we take the feather, and you need to use one that's got quite nice long fibres, then twist it between our fingers into a rope, and then we offer it up to the hook, catch it in by its tip and draw it through. Now don't worry if there are fibres that are sticking out at the moment, they're easily trimmed off later, so just keep pulling it through. Catch it in place there with the tight thread wraps, carry the thread up the hook 2/3 of the way along, and then quickly trim off those excess fibres. Now with the thread positioned just a short distance back from the eye, twist the feather a little, just gently, and make that first turn. Now this first turn is quite crucial because if you twist too much, the feather will perhaps snap. So once you've made a couple of turns, you can actually begin to twist quite firmly. Continue winding the feather, twisting a little bit as you go. Carry it on up until you reach the thread, then catch it in. Now don't worry if there are a few little fibres sticking out, they can be trimmed off later. Now do not at this stage remove what you might think is the waste end, we're going to use this later. Before carrying on any further, if there are any little loose fibres projecting from the body, these can just be trimmed off easily with a pair of scissors. Now with the body in place and the remainder of the feather held out of the way, we catch in a short length of black closed cell foam. This is going to form the thorax, and it's also going to divide the wings. Then to form the wings, what we do is we take 2 CDC feathers, stroke the fibres out so that they're sitting at 90 degrees to the stem, then place one on top of the other to create enough bulk, and then tear off the fibres. We then just carefully trim the ends and then offer the bunch of fibres up to the hook and catch it in just where we fix the foam in place. Now we create the thorax by taking that end of the CDC feather, twisting it again to a nice tight rope, and beginning to wind it carefully over the hook and then in front of the wing. Having secured the end of the CDC feather at the eye, we then carefully snip off the waste. Don't have to be too precise about it. So the next step is to divide the bunch of CDC that we tied in into 2 equal wings, and then draw the foam through the gap between them and just catch it in at the eye. Now you can just stretch it slightly once you've caught it in. That done, just simply trim off the excess and build a small, reasonably neat head. Once you're happy with the wing position and the head, just apply 3-turn whip finish just to finish it off. The last thing to do is just to pinch off any of the wayward fibres, any of the ones that are too long or sticking out in the wrong direction, and there you have it, the CDC done.